I am Judith, Atibi. The headlines at this hour. Voting commences in Kano local government election despite court injunction. Medical union Jehuisu declares 7-day warning strike in health sector. Ongoing conflict in Sudan claims dozens of lives. Details in a moment. And let's begin the news at this hour by telling you that voting has commenced as residents elect new chairmen and councillors across the 44 local government or local council areas of Kogi State, of Kano State, I beg your pardon. Now this comes as the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission, KANSIEC, confirmed that local government election across the state's 44 areas will proceed today despite a boycott by the main opposition, the All Progressives Congress, APC. The chairman, Professor Sani Lawan Mulumfashi, announced the commission's decision on Friday shortly after the Kano State High Court upheld its authority to conduct the election. Justice Sanusi Maji issued the ruling on Friday in response to a legal suit filed by the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission against the APC and 13 others, affirming the commission's mandate to proceed with the election as scheduled. Now, this ruling comes on the heels of a federal high court decision earlier in the week, which temporarily halted the election and dissolved the commission. Meanwhile, Federal High Court in Kano has sacked all 44 chairmanship and councillorship candidates of the new Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, for Saturday's local government elections. The ruling was delivered on Friday by Justice Simon Amubadi, following a case filed by Engineer Mohammed Babayo and a faction of the NNPP against the leaders, or rather the party's leadership. Justice Amubida ruled that the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission should accept a new list of candidates submitted by the faction led by the recognized state chairman Dalhatu Shehu Usman in accordance with the party's constitution. He further instructed the Kano State Independent Electoral Commission to must recognize the list of candidates submitted by the plaintiffs. And now to react to these developments, we're joined by the Commissioner for Information, Kano State, Baba Halilu Danti. Well, thank you so much for joining us, sir. We appreciate you for doing this with us. Let's get started. Just help us understand the current standing in Kano as per the local government elections. Now, despite the conflicting judgments prior to this poll, it seems that the elections will still take place.
The election is already taking place and it's being conducted in accordance with the laws, in accordance with the guidelines, in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which empowers the state's electoral commissions to conduct local government elections. So the election is going on. I just went and cast my vote. And I went around because it's being peacefully conducted. People are casting their votes, taking in the queues and so on. I went around. I went to the media houses. I saw how the media houses, of course, are commercial information. It's my responsibility to go and see there are no performance, but just to say, encourage them and to say thank them for the good work. So, but generally, the election is going on. And I don't think there is any problem with the election.
Now, we understand that the APC and other political parties have boycotted this election. How acceptable is this election to the people of Kano then, considering this withdrawal by major political parties?
No, I don't think APC boycotted. APC didn't participate. They didn't. So it's not a question of boycott because they didn't participate. They didn't buy a form. They didn't fill form. They didn't. All the processes, so it's already a question of boycott, it's a question of they didn't. Now, I'm sure they aggregate, and that's why they are all, what they couldn't get through the electoral process, now they want to have is through the courts. But as far as the Kano people are concerned, I think they're happy, not even I think, but they're happy with the election. You can see people are happy. The turnout is massive, it's quite encouraging. The Electoral Commission has done so well. The organization, the government has given all the necessary support. And you see, like I said, there's a court injunction, a long time ago, which stopped them from truncating because they are just trying to sabotage the process. And thank God they said they have not succeeded. The election is going on as planned, and that's also directed by the Supreme Court of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which gave the deadline of October for all states to conduct local government elections.
Now, we understand that there are insinuations that, vested interests are bent at frustrating this election in Kano because of the election cycle for 2027. What do you make of this?
Yes, you see, we certainly, in a case like this, you will not rule that out. But in Kano, it's very clear it is out, and unfortunately, people are using courts. And without means words, I would say that they are using the Federal High Court in Kano, and this is not a Kano problem. If the courts are being used to truncate democracy, I think it's not a Kano problem, it's a Nigerian problem. It's not a Nigerian problem. The people who will now deal with this issue are the people at the highest position in the judicial sector, because the damage being done is not a damage to Kano, it's not damage to the country, but it's particularly damage being done to the judiciary. So we are now, all our eyes now is on judiciary to see how they are going to handle this, not only conflicting judgments, but judges are manifestly seen to be partisan. I can tell you about 5, 6, 7, or 10 cases that have been taken to a particular court, a particular judge that has given judgments, the precedents, there are certain precedents that all the judgments are taking one direction. So, but it's not, like I said, this is not a Kano problem. This is not, it's a judicial problem. I think the judiciary needs to come out clean because it's affecting the whole, the whole judicial system in the country. But certainly there are that elements of people using the judiciary to truncate the democratic system in Kano and indeed in the country.
Well, we do hope to see what the turnout for today would look like. I want to say thank you so much, Commissioner, for information. Kano State, Baba Alilu Dantiye. Once again, many thanks for doing this with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Now, staying with local government matters, the Federal High Court in Abuja has rejected the request by Rivers State government to stay proceedings in a suit seeking to stop allocations of funds to all the local government areas in Rivers State. In a ruling on Friday, Justice Joyce Abdul Malik held that the application for stay made by a lawyer to the government of Rivers State, Godi Uche San, was frivolous, vexatious, unwarranted, and mischievous. The ruling was given during Friday's proceedings in a suit by the Rivers State House of Assembly and Martin Amawale. The plaintiffs are seeking, among others, to compel the Central Bank of Nigeria to withhold financial allocation to local government areas in Rivers State. In the meantime, Speaker of the House of Assembly, Speaker of the Lagos House of Assembly, Mudashiru Obasi, says only a constitutional amendment can grant 37 local council development areas the same status as local government areas. The LCDAs were created by President Bola Tinubu in 2003 when he was governor of Lagos State. Last week, the Lagos House of Assembly moved to replace the LCDAs with newly designated administrative areas. The bill, which outlines the structure of local governance, states that Lagos will operate through democratically elected LGs. According to the bill, Lagos will recognize 20 local government areas as outlined in the 1999 Constitution. And we move away from that now to bring you health matters. The Lagos State government has begun a campaign aimed at raising awareness and providing free screening for non-communicable diseases, hypertension and diabetes. The State Commissioner for Health, Professor Akin Abayomi, dropped the hint ahead of the statewide screening and public health engagement enlightenment campaign tagged Know Your Numbers and Control Your Numbers. News Central's Bettina Onweli tells us more.
Let me introduce you to sugar diabetes, obesity, and blood pressure. They are related. They may seem harmless, but each of them can quietly and slowly have a devastating effect on your health.
Lagos, with a population of about 30 million, has a 30% hypertension prevalence rate. This means there are 8,670,000 Lagosians living with hypertension. This campaign aims to raise awareness and provide free screening for two non-communicable diseases, hypertension and diabetes, commonly known as silent killers.
From the 28th of October to the 3rd of November, happening simultaneously across Nigeria in every state, we'll be attempting to measure the blood pressure and the sugar level of 10 million Nigerians. This is in an attempt to bring to you the awareness of Nigerians and all our citizens nationwide and in all states, the seriousness of the condition called hypertension and sugar diabetes.
It was revealed that over 30% of adults in Lagos are affected by hypertension, while diabetes cases continue to surge. Officials expressed concern about the lack of awareness, with many Lagos residents either unaware of their status or receiving limited medical care.
I do not know the connection between hypertension and journalism. But how can you get into any newsroom and you test people who are there, and about 90% of them will not be hypertensive? If you measure hypertension in any newsroom, to them is something that is normal.
COVID caused 18 million deaths globally in 2020, but hypertension is responsible for 10 million deaths every year. It is just as bad, and it is continuous.
While the Lagos State government stresses its commitment to providing affordable medications for managing these conditions, it is important to note that hypertension and diabetes are now leading causes of morbidity in Lagos, impacting both urban and rural communities. In Lagos, for News Central, I'm Bettina Nweli.
Members of the Joint Health Sector Unions and Assembly of Healthcare Professionals, JOHISU, have declared a 7-day warning strike commencing from midnight on Friday. The latest strike comes after a 15-day notice of industrial action issued to the federal government. While addressing journalists in Abuja, the national chairman of the union, Kabiru Minjibri, listed some of its demands. They include the immediate implementation of the consolidated health salary structure, payment of a 25% review of its arrears from June to December 2023, upward review of retirement age for health workers, tax waiver on healthcare workers' allowance, and the immediate payment of COVID-19 inducement hazard allowance, among other demands. The body is asking all its members across the country to comply with the directive. And you're watching news now on News Central TV. We go on a short break. When we come back, Waterside communities demolition as residents of Okobaba and Ayetoro in Lagos struggle to recover. After the break. And you're welcome back. Residents of Ayetoro and Okobaba Waterside communities are still reeling from the devastating aftermath of the September 15th demolition by the Lagos State government. On the said day, hundreds of residents of these communities were abruptly displaced, while some of them narrated their struggles to News Central's Igbalani Omoni as it captured the response of civil society groups and the Lagos State government's relocation plans. His report.
23-year-old Zainab Balogun and a 7-month-old baby are one of the many families who are still relieving the horror of the displacement at Ayetoro and Okobaba Waterside communities in Lagos State on September 15 this year.
There's so many things inside. Including my phone too is inside.
Ní àárọ̀ ọjọ́ Sunday, bá ṣe jí báyìí, àti ẹ̀ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ ìfẹ́ brush ni àkọ́dé lára àwọn ọlọ́pàá yẹn kọ́ tòde ni bó bá ti kọ́ sá pé kí ló dé tí àwọn ọlọ́pàá dé pẹ̀lú bọn lọ́wọ́ within 5 minutes báyìí wọ́n yìí bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọnù sí first thing ṣọ́ọ̀bù mi wọ́n sọnù sí àrí bí a tún sá kàtó débi àtẹ́fẹ́ lọ kẹ́rù ìrìn yàrá náà tó sọnù sí ogun kan wọ́n ṣá ti bàjẹ́ ṣá mo ìwà yìí mo kódà Ọlọ́run kan ló ní mi aṣọ yìí gan fún mi ni ọtí ni mò ń ta gbogbo kírètì ọtí mi ti jó freezer mi ti jó jẹ́ mi ti tó ta là ń sùn sí o nílé mo lówó tí màá fi gbálé fún àjọ sùn síta nípa dídí lálẹ́ báyìí ẹ̀rọ wà níbi under bridge ń bẹ̀ là ń sùn sí.
Adebayo and many others were unprepared for the scene that greeted them in the early hours of that fateful September. Families were started awake by the jarring noise of massive bulldozers and excavators demolishing buildings in the Waterside communities within the Ebutemeta area of Yaba Local Government Development Authority in Lagos State.
The way that they pass kidnapper or what everything we Nigeria don't experience is very bad experience.
Wọ́n ti gbogbo gbọ́lé mi nǹkan tí mo tẹ̀ mọ̀ pé mo ṣàmọ̀ pé kò sí ọ̀kan tó tẹ̀lé wá síwájú mi pé kí n dìbò kí n lè tẹ̀ka bẹ́ẹ̀ mi ṣe wà yìí nítorí èmi àtàwọn ọmọ márùn-ún ìta là ń sùn.
In the aftermath, non-governmental organizations like Sea Hope have been providing critical support to affected families, focusing on the right and welfare of vulnerable children and families. It aims to establish a network of victims to resist future demolitions and advocate for due process.
We have to go beyond the episodic response to this problem. We have to see how we coordinate.
When it comes to a question of development, they are not talking about development from the point of view of meeting the needs of every one of us. What they mean by development is to establish a safe place for those who are rich to be able to enjoy their lives. Yes. And that is why, when you look at what is happening in Lagos State now, under 1 hour, if rain falls, everywhere will be filled up with water. But how do you explain a co-Atlantic city? It is the same way that electricity exists if you are a band A person. As sufferers of these iniquities of these our leaders, we need to have an understanding that we do not just need to fight and resist, but we also need to begin to discuss among ourselves what kind of development, what kind of society, what kind of future do we need.
You can give these people adequate notice to get their lives together, move to better location. You can relocate them, you can compensate them, because being poor does not necessarily mean being below subhuman.
The Lagos State government has issued a final 3-month relocation order affecting not only homeowners but also timber merchants.
It's not about demolition alone. It's about the welfare of an average citizen of Nigeria.
As the affected communities navigate this difficult period and seek intervention, they say it remains essential to prioritize their well-being and ensure that their rights are respected. In Lagos 4 News Central, I am Igbalani Omoni.
A federal high court in Abuja has invited the Director General of the Department of State Services, Adeola Ajayi, to explain why he should not be imprisoned for contempt. The court noted that the DSS failed to comply with an order from Binta Iyako, a federal high court judge, which directed that Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, should be allowed access to his legal team 3 times a week. On October 18th, the court issued a Form 48 notice of consequences of disobedience to the order of court against the DSS Director General. The notice warned the DSS boss that he would be guilty of contempt of court and could face imprisonment if he disobeyed the court-ordered visitations. The takeover of the Niger Delta Ministry by the Ministry of Regional Development, as directed by President Bola Tinubu, continued to spark diverse responses, especially from the Niger Delta region. News Central's correspondent Austin Azu, who spoke to a cross-section of residents in Delta State, South Nigeria, tells us more.
The now-defunct Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs was on September 10, 2008, inaugurated by late President Umaru Yar'Adua, perhaps to address the economic challenges confronting the region and serve as a central authority for consolidating and implementing policies that promote development, peace and security in the Niger Delta region. Meanwhile, there is ongoing debate regarding the defunct ministry's success in meeting its statutory responsibilities over the years. The federal government has clarified that the then Ministry of Niger Delta Development, just as the Northwest Development Commission, Northeast Development Commission and the Southwest Development Commission, are to be under the watch of newly created Ministry of Regional Development. Stakeholders and respondents in the region have expressed opposition to this initiative, claiming that the federal government intends to utilize the South-South oil resources to finance development commissions in other zones.
So I feel that Ministry of Niger Delta should stay. If they want to scrap or merge any other this thing, it should be other ministries, not Ministry of Niger Delta, because it's a way to change the people of Niger Delta.
Niger Delta, where we say when you even dey safe, we know the fit drink water, keep cup. Now you want to come out and call a measure with other ministry. But that one die with them now. You just bless they carry that's a person from fry pan put for fire. That one I finish up now. It don't make sense at all. Make them try, make them know what they go do, make them regulate and back to where it did before.
The way I think it in political because he is an APC, then he's trying to pursue PDP in Delta State so that APC will cover everywhere. And the APC regime is not okay, which everybody knows.
Others praised President Bola Tinubu's bold initiative to reduce the cost of governance by consolidating all development commissions into a single ministry.
I think the government in its wisdom has looked at it that it is about policies. If in this ministry we begin to have people who, because it's essentially developing regions, and those are what the commissions should do. So all the commissions are now under a ministry that supervises the activity. I think it is okay.
It's the development that matters. It is not whether we have the minister or not, but let the development impact on the people. Let the people see that, yes, the commission is working.
Infrastructural development, environmental protection and empowerment of youth in the oil-rich Niger Delta region are some of the agitations that led to the creation of the then ministry. It remains to be seen how the people of the Niger Delta will accept the new reality. In Asaba for News Central, I'm Austin Azu.
And now to security matters. The British military has provided essential counter-improvised explosive devices equipment to Nigerian forces in support of ongoing counter-terrorism operations in Nigeria's northeast. The equipment is part of a wider assistance initiative aimed at enhancing the operational capabilities of Nigerian forces in their fight against insurgency and protecting civilian lives in the region. News Center's Umaru Kirawa reports that this partnership reflects the United Kingdom's ongoing commitment to bolstering Nigeria's security sector through strategic support and capacity building.
The use of improvised explosive devices by insurgents, particularly in some rural communities in Nigeria's northeast, has been a major concern in the quest by the armed forces to maintain peace. The authorities believe that the years of fighting using both persuasive and force is yielding results. The British government and Nigerian military officials strengthening ties to counter-IED capabilities, particularly in Nigeria's northeast, recovering from the ashes of insurgency.
The UK stands with Nigeria in the fight against violent extremist organisations. And this highly technical yet non-lethal military equipment complements a new and significant training support for countering improvised explosives.
It will in no small measure complement our existing capability of our troops in mitigating IED threats in the northeast theater of operations to enable free movement of troops, commuters, and citizens as they go about their lawful duties along our main supply routes.
The military equipment is said to worth €450,000, equivalent to about 1 billion naira. The UK-Nigeria collaboration extends beyond equipment provision, involving training programs to equip Nigerian personnel with essential skills for handling explosives safely and effectively.
Yakin sunkuru muke. Yanzu ma kake mamaki akwai su a cikin nan. Ka gane? So ba wani abu bane wanda zaka ce wai an gama da su ko ba gama da su. Daidai gwargwaro mun yi sosai. Shi yasa mutane na tafiyan su.
There's a long history between us and the British government whereby they assist the Nigerian government in providing some equipment they have trained. I'm sure you are aware of the FOB that was handed over somewhere in Lagos.
So it's been a real privilege for the UK to be based here and for the British Army to work with some really courageous, some really talented soldiers, both from Nigeria and from the MNJTF here.
The battle to maintain peace in the northeast Nigeria continue as the armed forces have been re-energized with more arms. The armed forces called on terrorists to surrender or face the consequences of their actions. From Memalari military cantonment in Maiduguri, the Borno State capital, for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Thanks, Umaru, there for that report. African women have been urged to remain focused and determined in the face of obstacles to be able to achieve their goals. Activists and experts gave the advice at the 9th edition of International Power Conference, which is held at the ECOWAS headquarters in the nation's capital, Abuja. News Center's Imano Bogudu reports.
A gathering of African women at the headquarters of the Economic Community of West African States in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, with the aim of giving African women the power to succeed amid current economic hardships. With the theme, The Resilient Woman, women here have come from different parts of the continent to learn, relearn, and broaden their knowledge on survival skills. The keynote speaker engaged participants on how to create jobs and boost their businesses, advising them to work hard and avoid distractions capable of making them lose focus.
But if you sit down and say, I can see a ground, and you ask the municipality or you ask those who are leaders, can I use this ground to start something? You can start something which can be fruitful to your community, and it can also help your children or your family.
The organizers say it is an auspicious event which has come at no better time as the entire world grapples with economic hardships.
There was a time that they thought I was like a savior, that when they have issues with their husbands, they will call my phone. They were like, oh, my husband don't beat me. I'm like, no, I'm not like... We are not like coming to see women and all that. We only want to empower you by telling you what to do now. Okay, why is your husband behaving this way? And I'm like, I just ask him, give money for soup. I'm like, no, it's not like that. There must be a way. When you ask your husband for something, you know your husband very well. Is he working? Is he making money? What's his capacity or capability at that moment?
We have to be the mirror to other women. Secondly, we have to encourage them by imparting the knowledge and the experience that we have had over the years.
The participants expressed satisfaction on the event and reeled out lessons that they have learned.
I have learned so many things from the conference, like the women as being resilient, that the woman should know herself as a woman, and that a woman should also be resilient in whatever that she's doing.
As a resilient woman, I'm supposed to be the one fronting out for my kids. Building my nation. I'm supposed to be the one doing almost practically everything, and then defending the cause of other women that cannot speak out.
A total of 500 women participated in the conference. In Abuja, for News Central, I am Emmanuel Bagudu.
You're watching News Now on News Central TV. Coming up, ongoing conflict in Sudan claims dozens of lives. We'll bring you details of these and more after this break. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. Mozambique's capital, Maputo, awoke to wreckage on Friday as protests overnight turned violent following the ruling party Frelipu's re-election after 49 years in power. Hundreds of opposition supporters demonstrated rejecting what they called a ballot stolen by a corrupt electoral commission, which on Thursday announced that Frelipo's candidate, Daniel Chapo, had won the October 9 election with 71% of the vote. As the election authority, widely accused of acting in the ruling party's favor, was announcing the results, crowds gathered in multiple cities and protests escalated, with rioters setting fire to tires to block avenues in Mutu and scaling Frelipo's election billboards and destroying them. Some also threw stones at riot police who fired tear gas to disperse them. In central Sudan, the Rapid Support Forces have launched a brutal attack on villages in Al Jaziri state, killing at least 50 people and wounding over 200 in Al Sariha alone. The villages of Al Sariha and Azak have been under siege since Friday morning, with the resistance committee in Hassa Haisiai reporting that they are unable to evacuate the wounded due to ongoing bombing and sniper fire. This latest attack is part of a larger pattern of violence by the Rapid Support Forces, who have been accused of ethnic cleansing and killing thousands in West Darfur. You're watching News Now. Still ahead, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer urges Iran not to retaliate following Israeli strikes on military bases. We'll bring you details of these and more after this break. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has urged Iran not to retaliate following Israeli strikes on military bases and missile attacks or sites. Now, Israel launched the strikes in response to a missile barrage, resulting in the deaths of 2 Iranian soldiers. Starmer acknowledged Israel's right to defend itself, but emphasized the need for restraint. He is calling for de-escalation and is working with allies to reduce tensions in the region. The situation remains volatile, with Israel intercepting 2 drones from Lebanon hours after the strikes.
I want to address Israel's strikes on military targets in Iran. This is a live situation, and we are obviously monitoring it closely alongside our partners. I am clear that Israel has the right to defend itself against Iranian aggression. I'm equally clear that we need to avoid further regional escalation and urge all sides to show restraint. Iran should not respond. We will continue to work with allies to de-escalate the situation across the region.
The 56-member Commonwealth has released a joint statement agreeing to discussions on the legacy of the transatlantic slave trade, acknowledging its painful history and the call for reparatory justice. The statement marks a significant step towards addressing the brutal trade that saw millions of slaves taken from Africa over 4 centuries. While Britain and other colonial powers have apologized for slavery, they have avoided committing to financial reparations. The Commonwealth leaders' agreement to engage in a meaningful conversation may pave the way for future reparations. The summit's outcome is seen as a historic opportunity for the Commonwealth to lead the process with vision and courage.
Heads emphasized that the Commonwealth had never retreated from respectful conversations on difficult issues, but rather has been at the vanguard of matters of great importance and significance to its members. Heads noted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Racial Discrimination, the Commonwealth Charter, the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 75/123, and the acknowledgement of the Durban Declaration and Programme of Action that slavery and the slave trade, including the transatlantic trade, as appalling tragedies in the history of humanity, not only because of their abhorrent barbarism, but also in terms of their magnitude, organized nature, and especially their negation of the essence of the victims. Now, as a result, Heads noting the calls for a discussion on reparatory justice with regard to the transatlantic slave trade, the trade in enslaved Africans and chattel enslavement, and recognizing the importance of this matter to members of the Commonwealth, the majority of which share common historical experiences in relation to this abhorrent trade, chattel enslavement, the demolition and dispossession of indigenous people, indentureship, colonialism, blackbirding, and their enduring effects, agreed that the time has come for a meaningful, truthful, and respectful conversation towards forging a common future based on equity.
Nigeria's food security crisis is deepening, with over 1 million people, more than 1 million people, facing severe food insecurity in 2024 than in the previous year. The United Nations has also projected that by 2030, 82 million Nigerians, about 64% of the population, could be at risk of hunger. Now, giving this alarming figures, the News Centro's Perpetual Fasomi Peter engages key stakeholders in Nigeria's agricultural sector to discuss potential solutions and chart a path forward. Take a look.
Nigeria is one of 18 countries experiencing worsening food security, driven by factors such as insecurity and climate-related shocks. Consequently, over 1 million more people are facing high levels of food insecurity in 2024 compared to the previous year.
There is a wrong assumption that hunger and deprivation and food insecurity is in the rural areas, but lately recent statistics seem to suggest urban hunger is even as considerable as rural hunger. We've seen farmers in some parts of Zamfara and Katsina who have been made to be paying royalties to bandits to be allowed to go to the farm. Why can't you report to the police? What they say is shocking. They will whisper to you that the police are complicit in sharing the largesse.
For stakeholders, addressing these issues would involve implementing measures such as mechanization, using improved seedlings, and utilizing timely data to track climate change and monitor production.
There are things that we need to do in terms of post-harvest loss, in terms of providing silos and storage, and until it gets to market, and make the connections between the rural farm place. And I think the improvement of roads, the improvement of highway systems, I think will be integral to that. It will make the ability to get from one part of the country, because you can't manage what you can't measure. It is, and you can count exactly what's happening. It will allow you to make your policy adjustments and act accordingly.
It depends on whether security can be assured, and also access to inputs can be calculated and given to farmers at the onset, and during harvest they can pay you back, like we've seen in the farmer commodity aggregation schemes with Afex and Babangona.
Speaking further, the chairman of Flour Mills of Nigeria emphasized on the need to consciously double yield in the next 3 years.
Over the coming 3 years, that there is a target to double our yields in agriculture. If you double the yield of your crop by having good seed, good fertilizer, and good agronomic practices, then you will earn double the revenue for the same amount of input. So this is the way you create growth, agricultural prosperity, and it goes viral.
Nigeria's food security crisis, fueled by climate change and insecurity, requires urgent intervention. To prevent the UN's projected 82 million hungry Nigerians by 2030, decisive action is needed to strengthen the agricultural sector and ensure food security. In Lagos, for News Central, I am Perpetua Fasomi Peter.
The Osun State government is making significant preparations for the 2024 National Sports Festival, set to take place in January of 2025. After inspecting renovations at MKO Abiola Stadium and Ijaje Sports Center in Abeokuta, Governor Dakpo Abiodun affirmed his commitment to providing top-notch facilities, and he noted that the stadium, which is 30 to 35 years old, is undergoing its first major reconstruction, aiming to make it one of the best in the country. Abiodun expressed satisfaction with the contractor's work and acknowledged the long-neglected Sports Center, emphasizing his administration's commitment to restoring it for the Games. The festival will run from January 12th to January 26th, 2025, showcasing Osun State's dedication to sports development.
I'm impressed with the level of activities that I've seen at the stadium today. I have been to the location where behind the main pitch, Membo, where the swimming pool, the Olympic-sized swimming pool is being constructed, the warm-up pool, the tennis courts, the handball courts. And now we're here at the main board itself. We have seen that the pitch itself is being removed. The surface is being prepared in readiness for concrete work and then the eventual laying of the turf. The track itself has been totally removed. The drains have been opened. They're going to ensure that the pitch cambers enough so that when it rains, it drains into the drain to avoid what has happened in the past. The track is also being gotten ready. I'm very satisfied with the level of professionalism that's been demonstrated by the contractors.
Nigeria's under-17 female team, the Flamingos, aim to continue their strong start at the 2024 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup as they face the United States this weekend. Led by Coach Bankole Oluwokere, the Nigerian squad is coming off a hard-fought 1-0 victory against the Dominican Republic in their final group match and is eager for another win to progress in the tournament. Meanwhile, the U.S. team enters the match following a convincing 5-0 victory over South Korea, also seeking to advance. The highly anticipated clash between Nigeria and the United States is scheduled for Saturday, October 26th at 8:30 p.m. Nigerian time. Both teams are determined to secure a spot in the next phase of the competition.Lorenzo Mosito achieved a stunning upset by defeating world number 3 Alexander Zverev to reach the Vienna semi-finals, describing the victory as a pretty big win. His ranked 17th, the Italian overcame a challenging start, losing the first set 2-6, but rebounding to win 7-6, 7-5, 6-4, and after 2 hours and 36 minutes. Mosetti, noted his initial struggles with his forehand and backhand, but found his rhythm as the match progressed. He acknowledged Zverev's affinity for the venue, making the win even more significant. He will next face world number 18 Jack Draper, who advanced after defeating Czech Republic's Tomáš Maček, and that's 6-3, 3-6, 6-1 in the quarterfinals. And that's all, but before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Voting commences in Kano local government election despite court injunction. Medical union Johisu declares 7-day warning strike in health sector. The ongoing conflict in Sudan has now claimed dozens of lives. Now remember, they can watch News Central everywhere you are. We're on DSTV channel 422, also on Star Times channel 274. We are on Avo TV, or you can stream us live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Judith, Atibi. Bye for now.